What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode. My name is Will and I'm the founder of Motorcycle Mastery, and in this episode I want to talk to you about 5 beginner bike myths, and I'm going to see if I can bust all of them for you, beginning with myth number 1, which is you're going to outgrow your 400, so you shouldn't buy one. I always laugh at that one, and I'll tell you why it's a total myth. You only outgrow your 400 if you treat it like a toy. But 400 motorcycles for beginners are one of the best bikes ever, simply because a smaller bike forces better throttle control, braking control, and cornering techniques. Most riders never push their 400s beyond straight line speeds, so if you treat it like a toy, it becomes one, and that's why you get bored of it. Myth number 2, learn how to brake properly because ABS isn't necessary. Total myth. Not true at all, especially for new riders, because ABS can be life-saving during emergencies. You know why? Because most of the crashes happen during panic braking. Now I have to admit, skill does help, but ABS is just cheap insurance, so it definitely helps to have it, and that's another myth I want to bust for you guys. And then myth number 3, you need a powerful bike in order to be safe on the highway. Totally not true, another myth, and I want to bust this one as well. You know why? Because even a Ninja 400 can cruise at 80 miles per hour all day, every single day. Confidence and lane awareness, as well as street survival, are far more important than horsepower. And I don't have to tell you this, but a leader bike doesn't protect you from bad decisions, and therefore that's another myth busted right there. And then let's talk about myth number 4. The MSF or the CBT is all you need. Well, to be honest with you, the MSF or the CBT, which I just did a video on, I mentioned in that video that the MSF or the CBT is just a starting point. The thing is that most riders forget what they learned right away after they finish taking the test. And then when they come back home, they're left with the bike and the road, and then they're shit scared about what to do next. And that's happened to me so many times when I first learned how to ride a motorcycle. This is why I developed my Motorcycle Mastery course, because Motorcycle Mastery fills in the gap. The MSF and the CBT course, they're just a primer, they're just a base, kind of like a foundation when you build a house. The stucco and the paint and the drywalls and everything else has to go on top of all that foundation, and that's where Motorcycle Mastery comes in, because I teach riders how to ride in the real world, on the highway, street survival, and if you want to, on the track. And then let's go ahead and talk about myth number 5. Buying a used bike is risky. It totally isn't. As an example, it's in your best favor as a brand new rider to buy a used bike, especially like a Ninja 400 or a Yamaha R3 that has about, I don't know, anywhere between 5,000 to 7,000 miles. That's about maybe 4 or 5 years old, because you're going to end up dropping that bike. You might end up crashing it in your first maybe 3 to 6 months, because the statistics are there. Most brand new riders usually get into their first accident within 3 months. So if you pass your 3rd month and you haven't gotten to an accident, good for you, which is great. However, if you bought that motorcycle for about $3,500 to $4,000, chances are you'll get back 100% of your money, and therefore, after you've gotten your bearings, after you've learned how to ride a motorcycle properly, you can trade it in for something brand new and a lot more hopped up than a Ninja 400 or an R3. So, another myth busted right there. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about myth number 1, which is you'll get bored of a smaller motorcycle, so just don't buy one. The thing is that, yeah, you can start out on a leader bike, okay? Totally doable. Anyone can, for that matter. You can start out on a leader bike, you can start out on a 600. You don't have to start out on a Ninja 400 or an R3 or anything small, 500, 400 cc, under 50 horsepower, under 400 pounds. Stuff that I typically recommend for brand new riders is not something you have to do. Here in the United States, as soon as you get your M1 license, you can walk into any dealership and buy yourself a Ducati V4S if you have the money, or an RSV4 1100 with 200 plus horsepower. You guys who are watching this from Europe, you're probably not shocked. Most of the crazy videos with bikers that you see are here from the United States, and the kind of people that buy those kind of bikes as their first bikes are the ones who post like reckless content online, if you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, no matter what your age is here in the United States, you can go and buy any bike. There are no rules. That's part of the problem, because as a brand new rider, you already have so much to learn when it comes to riding a motorcycle. You might say to yourself, okay, you know what, I'm gonna get an R6 because that's a really cool bike, and it is, trust me, I used to own one. Or I might get something like a 959. That's another very, very popular bike. Ducatis are very, very popular motorcycles, and the 959 is relatively inexpensive, looks damn cool. So that's another bike that a lot of people start out on. ZX6R, the list goes on. There's just a lot of cool bikes out there, but the problem is riders, they just don't have the acumen for it. A lot of people just can't afford an expensive car. An expensive car is going to provide a lot of fun for a lot of people, like a Porsche 911, or I don't know, I'm just putting stuff out there. You can choose any car you want. Corvette, the newest one, whatever, anything for that matter. The newest car out there, or something used that can provide you the same kind of fun as a motorcycle, or similar fun as a motorcycle, is going to cost you anywhere between $70,000 to, I don't know, $200,000-$300,000. So I totally get that motorcycles offer the same kind of thrill for next to nothing. About, I don't know, $7,000 to $10,000, you can get the same type of performance. So I totally get why a lot of new riders, they want to purchase a 600 class motorcycle. One of my motorcycle mastery students, Ronnie, he started on a Ninja 400 and messaged me the other day that he's having a difficult time because of the throttle response. He says that the throttle response is very sharp. And so just imagine on a Ninja 400 where there's a lot of play on the throttle, okay? I've ridden those bikes plenty of times. Ninja 400s, R3s, etc. Those bikes are developed for relatively brand new riders. And for people who want to take it to the track, you know, as a dedicated track bike. Those motorcycles have very, very tame throttle responses. But Ronnie, my motorcycle mastery student, was having a difficult time with the throttle response, and he was saying that it was very sharp for him. So I told him to go up in higher gears, as well as higher RPMs, and the throttle response will be less. But that's what I mean, like with 600s and leader class motorcycles, the throttle response is a lot sharper. There is no play in your throttle. If I can put motorcycle classes in comparison to cars, let's see here. A 400 would probably be comparable to like a 250 horsepower BMW 330, okay? It's got that much power, trust me when I tell you this. I have a BMW 330, so I know what I'm talking about. So if you think a 400 is not fast at all, you gotta be kidding yourself. And then when it comes to 600s, a 600 is something like a Lamborghini Huracan. In stock form, those cars are anywhere between 500, 600 horsepower up to 700 horsepower. So yeah, any 600, okay, with a tune and a pipe, can probably take on any Lamborghini Huracan. And then when it comes to leader bikes, leader bike is about 430 to 460 pounds wet, and then it's going to have anywhere between 200 horsepower for a Yamaha R1 all the way up to 230 horsepower for an RSV4, like my previous bike. So that motorcycle is going to compare to something like a Bugatti Chiron. In first gear alone, that motorcycle does 90 miles per hour. You can literally keep it in first gear between wherever you live till the time you get home and never ever have to change a gear. It's a crazy motorcycle. Leader bikes are absolutely ridiculous, my friends. And you know what? A lot of people, they just decide to start out on leader bikes for odd reasons, and I just can't understand this because the throttle response is so sharp. Those motorcycles weigh a whole lot, and it takes a lot of energy to ride those motorcycles in and out of corners. You got to wrestle those things. I've taken it to the track before. It's a workout, my friends, let me tell you. Like for 3-4 days after a track day event of riding those motorcycles, my muscles are burning. and I need a couple of days away from the vacation. I need a vacation from the vacation, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, a lot of people start out on leader bikes, which is ridiculous. The point I want to drive across is this: if you buy a motorcycle simply for cheap thrills, you're going to get bored of it very quickly. Yes, it's true, you will get bored of a 400, but you don't buy a 400 because you want to ride that motorcycle on a straight line as fast as you can. Speaking of straight line, let's have some fun. I think the laws in Europe are perfect for riders because they're in different classes depending on age as well as experience level, and I wish they had something similar to that here in the United States, because it would make riding a lot safer for riders, and it would put more emphasis on skill building instead of cheap thrills. Quite honestly, guys, I mean, like I said in the beginning of this video, you can start out on any bike you want, but riding a 400 and getting bored of it is just a really bad excuse to say to yourself, oh, I'm not going to buy a 400 because my friends told me not to buy one, or the people on Reddit recommended that I get a 600 instead, or any of that stuff for that matter. I think anyone who buys a motorcycle should respect the motorcycle and give themselves enough time to learn all the necessary skills before they move on to something bigger. For the first 3 to 6 months, at least spend some time just learning the motorcycle. When it comes to motorcycles, there's just so much to learn. You know, you got your clutch, you got your throttle, you got to be smooth with everything. And of course, let's not forget, just, you know, building confidence, because when you're riding a bigger bike with a lot of power and this thing is really heavy, your confidence level is really low in the beginning. But if you ride something like a Ninja 400 or an R3 that has a smoother throttle response, it's not going to be jerky for you. Like right now, my throttle is on and off. Look at this, it's pushing me back every time I give it more throttle. But on a 400, that's not going to be the case at all. Because if you know my story, I started out on a KTM RC390. I just can't imagine starting out on a 600. Holy crap, man. I would be terrified, because I was terrified of riding my 373cc motorcycle that only had a paltry 38 horsepower, okay? And I was afraid of riding that motorcycle, and it only weighed about 380 pounds wet. So if somebody buys something like this that weighs 436 pounds wet, has 127 horsepower, which is literally almost 4 times as much as what I started out with, has a really sharp throttle response, goes from 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds, does a top speed of like 150 miles an hour, which is, trust me, something you're going to want to do, and you're going to want to do it really quickly. You're going to want to push this bike to its absolute limits, and when you do push it to its absolute limits, your skill level will not be on par with how fast your bike is going, and that's when a lot of bad things happen. How fast you go on your motorcycle should be commensurate to your skill level. Because as a brand new rider, or someone just starting out with less than, I don't know, 3 to 6 months of experience, you haven't yet developed all the skills necessary, so this way you can perform them very quickly. As an example, emergency braking. How many times have you gone into the parking lot and emergency braked? Just because you want to practice before it actually happens. How many times have you gone to the parking lot and done a slow race? Just so you can be more maneuverable with your motorcycle in a slow speed environment, such as a parking lot or coming to a stop like where I am right now for a red light. And believe me when I tell you this, riding a motorcycle slow is a lot more complicating than riding a motorcycle fast. But anyway, leave a comment below on which of these myths resonated with you the most, and if you agree or disagree. And don't forget, there's a link to the Motorcycle Mastery Guide as well as the course down below, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.